Alright everyone, I'm back from my lunch break. Now it's time to take a journey to Babel. Or is it Babel? I don't know! On Stardate 3842.3, the Starship Enterprise, under the command of Captain James T. Kirk, is transporting Federation ambassadors to the Babel Conference to discuss the admission of the Accordion system into the Federation. The system is a prime source of dilithium crystals, but is also underpopulated and unprotected. Mining rights are disputed by many warring species who have strong reasons for keeping Corridon out of the Federation. Ambassador Sarek from Vulcan boards with his human wife Amanda. Captain Kirk learns to his surprise that they are Mr. Spock's parents. Kirk is also taken aback by how coldly Sarek views his own son, apparently because Spock chose to devote his life to Starfleet instead of the Vulcan Science Academy against Sarek's wishes. Dun dun dun! Formal negotiations are to take place on a neutral planetoid called Babel, but preliminary diplomacy begins at a social gathering aboard the Enterprise. The issue is a controversial one, and the Tellarite ambassador, Gav, demands to know Sarek's position. Post for a response, Sarek transparently implies that the Tellarites want to keep Corridon out of the Federation so they can continue to plunder the dilithium. Gav takes offense at this allegation, and the confrontation briefly becomes physical before Kirk breaks it up, warning all parties to keep order on his ship. Meanwhile, Communications Officer Lieutenant Uhura has detected an encoded transmission beamed from the Enterprise to a fast-moving vessel at the extreme edge of sensor range. Shortly afterward, the Tellarite ambassador Gav is found murdered, his neck having been broken by a method Spock calls Tal Shaya, an ancient Vulcan form of execution, casting suspicion upon Sarek. During questioning, Sarek suffers a cardiovascular malfunction and is rushed to sickbay, where Chief Medical Officer Dr. McCoy determines that he requires immediate surgery. Because there is a shortage of his blood type T-negative, which is relatively rare among Vulcans, Spock volunteers to donate his own blood for the operation, using experimental stimulant for increasing blood production. Meanwhile, a member of the Andorian delegation, Thelov, attacks and stabs Captain Kirk. Kirk subdues Thelov, but is seriously wounded and taken into sickbay. Thelov is imprisoned in the brig. In accordance with regulations, despite the objections of both his mother and Dr. McCoy, Spock halts his participation in Sarek's procedure in order to command the Enterprise, as the situation is too critical to leave the hands of a less experienced officer. Kirk recovers sufficiently to pretend that he is well, and with the grudging support of McCoy, returns to the bridge to relieve Spock and order him to return to sickbay. As Uhura picks up another encoded transmission from the Enterprise and traces the source to the brig, Kirk decides to stay in command in his weakened state. When Thelov is searched, it is discovered that his antennae are fake and conceal a small transceiver. Thelov is not an Andorian at all, but has been surgically altered to look like one. The unidentified vessel now closes in to attack the Enterprise, moving at extreme speed, far faster than the Enterprise can lock phaser weapons on it. McCoy begins operating on Sarek, who is directly receiving blood from Spock. Kirk herself brought to the bridge and questions him about his and the attacking ship's motives, though Thelov is evasive. The ongoing attack damages the Enterprise. Kirk decides to try a ruse, shutting down internal power to make the Enterprise appear crippled. This orders the attacker to slowly approach until the Enterprise damages it with a surprise phaser counterattack. The disabled ship self-destructs, and Thelov reveals both he and the ship are on suicide missions. He then collapses and dies from a delayed action poison. Dun dun dun! Kirk returns to sickbay for further care and finds Spock and Sarek both alert, the surgery having been an apparent success. Yay! Spock speculates that Thelop and the attacking ship were of Orion origin, and the speed and power of the latter were consistent with suicide mission, with all the energy dedicated to attack and none for defense. Thelop's mission aboard the Enterprise, Kirk and Spock presume, was to sow distrust among the Federation members and weaken the Enterprise by killing Kirk prior to the attack. As a part of the Orion origin theory, this issue is unproven by the end of the episode, though it suggested that an autopsy of Thelop would confirm it. It's acknowledged that Orion has been raiding Corridon for dilithium and will profit greatly selling the valuable mineral to both sides in a civil war between Federation members. Amanda asks Sarek to thank Spock for saving his life, but Sarek simply shrugs, saying that it was only logical. Amanda expresses anger at the Vulcan Moors, and Spock, in her temper, asks Sarek why he married her. When Sarek replies, it seemed the logical thing to do, he and Amanda make a loving, touching gesture. Aww. McCoy, however, loses patience with the discussion and takes advantage of his medical authority over his patients to order everyone to be silent. The beams are finally getting the last word. Haha. Anyway, let's look at the alien species that are introduced here. This episode introduced the Andorian and Tellarite species. The actor who played the Tiller ambassador, Gav, had difficulty seeing through the eye holes in his prosthetic makeup, and was forced to raise his head in an arrogant-looking manner in order to see the other actors. The Andorian antennae, sprouting out of the back of the head, in this and other episodes of the original series, was depicted in the later Star Trek Enterprise series as coming out of the forehead and capable of movement. Nice. Well, this is a pretty good story, and hey, we also meet Spock's parents for the first time. So, I give Journey to Babel 5 warp cores out of 5. So, join me in a little bit as we meet Friday's child. Until then, live long and prosper.